to join these committees, these are the right people to kind of, make sure you leave, exchange business cards, let them know that you want to get involved. And then the last committee that we focus on is on innovation. And that, I'm not sure if Nabil Malouli's here, but if he's not, Mathieu is also here. Matt, are you here? Matt, please stand up. Mathieu is Mathieu is the executive director of Florida Blockchain Foundation. And he's a guru when it comes to blockchain. And I think we're going to try to keep about a minute at the end to talk a little bit about that. But certainly, these guys are the reason why these committees are really moving forward. And I also always have to recognize Gary Goldfarb, he's back there. Gary really started this in terms of giving us, Gary's been phenomenal in making sure that this industry sector, people are paying attention to it. As you all know, 1 out of every 4 jobs is tied to trade logistics, which is why I'm always happy to connect with my partners from both MIA and Port Everglades. I just want to say thank you to Virginia Sanchez, who's with FedEx. Virginia, want to come up and say a few words really quick before I turn it over to the chairs?
Thank you, Stanley. Good morning, everyone. I just want to welcome you here this morning. We're very proud to host you today. This is the second time we use this facility, Stanley, which is great. Our Vice President, Basil Khalil, could not be here this morning. He's a great supporter of the Beacon Council. We're very proud of the partnership we have with the Beacon, Stanley, and look forward to many more of these type of meetings and our continued work together, and particularly in the area of, obviously, of trading logistics, being who we are, which is FedEx. So thank you for being here today.
That said, the reason I'm not wearing a tie today is because, like my two fearless leaders, the chair and chair-elect, these guys look hip and everything, and Louis and I are always kind of a little too professional, so I decided today I'm just not going to wear a tie. But that said, the reason we're doing there's so much engagement, and this is such a great committee, is really because of Gabriel Rodriguez, who's the president of A Customs Brokerage, and Scott Gregory, who is the Senior Vice President, I think, Market Officer for Prologis. These guys are on it all the time, and Gary can tell you, it's volunteering their time is really what they're doing. They want to make sure that we leave a legacy in this industry, and we have the engagement of a lot of people. And so we appreciate all the engagement, and that said, I want to bring up our 2 chairs, Gabriel and Scott.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. Stanley pretty much took most of the stuff I was going to say, introducing our subcommittees and our volunteers here. I want to thank you all for coming. Even though we don't have the typical 100, 150, 200 people in the room, we definitely have some great quality connections in here. Just in the discussion this morning, there's already been some very good connections that we've made, and so that's what this committee is all about, right? Is building the business and building South Florida's trade and logistics community.
I'm Ben Gordon. I'm the founder and managing partner of Cambridge Capital. We are a private equity firm that invests in transportation, logistics, and supply chain technology. I'm also an entrepreneur. I built 4 companies over the course of my career, starting 20 years ago with a company called Threeplex, which was one of the first internet-based transportation management systems. We sold it to Maersk. They sold it to IBM, and figured I would keep building businesses in the sector. And in Cambridge today, we've invested in lots of great companies. In 2010, a guy named Brad Jacobs came to us and said, "You don't know me, but I built 4 companies from nothing to over $1 billion. The next one's going to be in logistics, and would you like to work with me?" And although I've done lots of stupid things, one not stupid thing was to say yes to Brad Jacobs, and you guys probably all know that's now XPO, $12 billion company. So played a small role in that, invested a small amount in that, and hopefully the next one will be just as good. And have invested in a string of other companies in logistics technology. We invested in a company called Grand Junction, e-commerce and last mile logistics business, which we just sold to Target a little over a year ago, and continuing to work with lots of great entrepreneurs and owners throughout supply chain.
Excellent, thank you. Iman.
Hi, good morning. I'm Iman Reiser from the South Florida Business Journal. Our newspaper covers major industries, of course, including trade and logistics here in South Florida. I cover a lot of tech and the interplay of how our region is playing to our strengths and creating possibly the next billion-dollar tech logistics company.
Wonderful. My name is Scott Case. I'm the founder and chief storyteller at a company called Position Global. I've been around this industry literally all my life. My father started a customs brokerage and freight forwarding firm. Gabriel and I share a lot of sort of roots into how we got into this. I'm a licensed customs broker, was the IX security coordinator and FMC qualifying individual at my firm. I've cut airway bills, I've loaded trucks, I've sworn at carriers. So that it eminently qualifies me to sort of know the day in and day out challenges that our industry faces. Almost 7 years ago, I started a company called Position Global, realizing that if there's one thing that logistics companies don't do very well, it's market themselves. It's an odd sort of combination of both humility. I got it. It's an odd sort of combination of both humility and like, oh, we really don't want to tell us, and just the lack of having sort of like talent in-house that does a lot of creativity, design, and writing. I mean, as customs brokers and freight forwarders, we'll hire people to move cargo, solve problems, classify things. Long-form writing is not necessarily one of the job requirements, so we've been fortunate enough to be able to step in and do everything from websites to content to marketing strategy, with the idea being that because my team and I are industry professionals, expats, call us what you will, we speak the language and we get it probably 80 to 85% of the way that our clients need, and then the last bit of it is just tailored to what's happening in their buildings, and they fill it in that way. So, thank you.
Great, thank you all again for coming. So, as you can tell and saw in our promotions, our theme for today is around storytelling, but it's not storytelling just from a pure marketing perspective. There are different angles here. We have storytelling on the macroeconomic perspective, as we like to joke, the Beacon Council is really nothing more than a marketing agency.
Says the
right?
accountant.
You understand the financial angle. So obviously the Beacon Council represents the county, growing business, attracting business, retaining, etc. We want to talk about the conversation as an industry here in South Florida, in Miami-Dade County, greater area. What makes us different? What makes us unique? It's a conversation we've had a lot in this committee, right? Because we're all coming together, we're trying to grow our businesses and get others here. But what we have here also is a really unique perspective. Iman covering the entire industry, but also doing profiles on companies in the area, their success stories. I think Magai has been covered in the Business Journal a couple of times, at least, if I'm not mistaken. We have a financial perspective, right? So when we talk about storytelling, what makes your company that's in this industry attractive for a strategic buyer, for capital investments? What makes you successful from a financial perspective, an operational perspective? Where are the red flags? Those are the kinds of insights we're expecting from Ben. And then of course, the traditional marketing view, right? Brand management, how do we get our company message out there? So that sets all this in context, and hopefully you are starting to think about questions of your own. And then just keep the ball rolling. I'll offer a general question to all three of you. So just looking at the industry in the last 5-10 years, a lot of growth. Looking ahead, we've got trade wars, we have all sorts of things going on now. What's the state of the industry? Where is it going? And where does Miami play into the next 5 years or so of logistics? And anyone who wants to take that.
Should I start?
Proximity, you win.
That's right.
The tie connection.
The tie. You know,
Having a moment.
hold hands.
Getting to know you.
I actually hired Markham for a deal 4 years ago, so.
I was not with the firm, I had no idea. That's actually good enough, thank you.
So yesterday I was in New York and was speaking at an investment conference on the state of what's happening in transportation and logistics. And somebody said something to me that I've never heard before and probably will never hear again. He said, how does it feel to be a leading investor in the sexiest area of the economy? It's like, what are you talking about? But here's why, okay? Transportation and logistics is interesting to a lot of people. I mean, yes, 1 out of 4 jobs relates to trade and logistics. But the technology, the digitization associated with supply chain is going through tremendous growth, tremendous transformation. And you know, we see that there are companies in the room that are a part of that. There are, of course, across the country. I mean, we have all these unicorns, $billion-plus private tech companies in logistics technology. I mean, Flexport and Convoy and a whole, arguably you could count, you know, Uber and others in that realm. So I think there's tremendous growth in the intersection of new technology with an old classic problem of supply chain and how to move goods from point A to point B. We're talking about storytelling. I mean, to me, this is the third wave in a multi-hundred-year story of innovation in our industry. So I would say, here we are, by the ports. I would say 1869, 1956, and today are three chapters. 1869. What happened in 1869? If anybody has a guess. The Golden Spike. So the Golden Spike was when Leland Stanford drove the Golden Spike in Promontory, Utah, connecting East Coast with West Coast and creating the first coast-to-coast railroad. We don't think of railroads today as hotbeds of innovation, but that was a big deal. And that drove huge improvement in supply chain and reduction in cost. And we all live it, and of course here in Florida, Flagler, of course, was a part of that, and then the Flagler East Coast Railroad, thereafter. So to me, that was one huge wave of innovation. Second wave, 1956. If anybody, yeah, container was born, right? So Malcolm McLean invents containerization and takes what at the time was a sleepy little trucking company and turns it into a global powerhouse with Sealand. And yes, it was great for Malcolm McLean, and yes, that was the birth of tremendous new era of containerization, great for shipping companies, Maersk, Sealand, and APL, and many others, but also great for retail and for American consumers. You wouldn't have Walmart, you wouldn't have low-cost retail, low-cost manufacturing in China, and everything that's allowed us to do if not for Malcolm McLean. We're in this third wave now. My opinion, this third wave is the digital supply chain. And so innovation in supply chain has a long history, but what's new and exciting now is you've got digitization of freight forwarding, of truck brokerage, of tracking, obviously blockchain, a potential part of that. So just lots and lots of areas of disruption and growth. And so for me, as an investor and a business builder, I look at all the tremendous opportunities to use technology to take the supply chain sector and drive even greater growth and opportunity. And I think that's an opportunity for all of us in the room. Certainly it's an opportunity for Miami and for the region as it relates to ports, as it relates to cross-border trade. I look forward to figuring out what the next big opportunity will be on the scale of the Golden Spike and containerization.
So Iman, just piggybacking on the whole idea of innovation, right? Obviously we have a subcommittee, as we talked about earlier, that is focused solely on innovation within logistics within the Beacon Council. From a newsworthy factor, that sex appeal of the industry, that we're now a sexy industry, is it all technology? Are you covering traditional customs brokerages, or is there always a technology angle to every story you write? Can you just elaborate a little bit on that?
The stories that I write really have to do with how companies are countering challenges with technology. So the labor shortages, the demands from consumers, like same-day delivery, all these pressures that are being put on logistics companies and companies in other industries, they're tapping technologies to solve them. So I recently wrote about how Ryder is using hackathons to try to reduce the amount of people they need for customer service and really increase their revenues in different places as they see issues in a shortage of truckers. And they're also tapping smart warehouses and using drone technology, big data. All of those things are happening in Miami, and I really focus on how the innovations that will change this industry are really happening here with companies like Ryder, DHL, FedEx, and Amazon, which also has a lot of facilities here and are using technologies and testing them out in this market, which is a major logistics hub in our 1.4 trillion US logistics market. So I do talk a lot about how those companies are tapping technology, but also about how we're playing to our strengths and developing new technologies here, new startups that are going to disrupt the industry. 5 years from now, I wrote about how Octopi, a Miami-based port terminal logistics management platform.
That. So you look at different cities and what they've sort of set up based on the trade lane for which they operate. I mean, anything, by and large, anything that's going to happen south of here is going to be coming through Miami, period, paragraph, end of story. You could say the same thing for LA and to a lesser degree Seattle, Tacoma in Asia. New York used to be the province of the European flight banks and just sort of that transatlantic, but that's expanded. And even for my home market in Chicago, we're seeing a lot of variation and a lot of changes in the cargo mix, not just because of the intermodal things that are happening, but because newer aircraft are flying further. I mean, if you'd have told me 10 years ago, congratulations, Chicago, you're getting a nonstop flight from Addis Ababa, I'd have gone, what? But courtesy of the 787, the 350, we're now seeing lanes open. I mean, if you feel like you need to spend 16 hours in a plane going down to see hobbits, you can now fly Air New Zealand, Chicago to Auckland nonstop 3 days a week. These are the kinds of innovations, this market opening that's going to happen. And I think that as Miami looks to what it is for things going out and things coming in to your primary area and being able to sell that and to make the rest of the country understand that, that's certainly going to be a key thing. A lot of logistics companies are not just here, but doing business for clients elsewhere. So helping to sort of understand the dichotomy of how the South Florida market works and the lanes that you have while still having access to the rest of the global marketplace that's happening, to the Middle East, to Asia, to Europe. Certainly you're attuned to the routes that you have coming in here, but you can't also lose sight of the rest of the business that's happening around the country.